This morning, all shall be revealed. I am here to answer a single question. The question that has been on all of your minds. The question that has nagged at your subconscious for as long as you each have known me. Why Calvin Coolidge? New teachers, and other chance individuals who have somehow managed to escape all knowledge of my unusual presidential obsession, I suppose this requires some explanation. I have been fascinated by Calvin Coolidge, our nation's 30th president, ever since late elementary school. And this fascination has thereafter been an integral and indispensable part of my identity. There are those who like video games, there are those who like sports, and then there is Abbie Minor, the girl who likes Calvin Coolidge. So why Coolidge? How did this even come about? I will walk you through the history, but prepare yourself for many tangents. In a well-structured essay, these tangents would not be justified, but for a speech meant to impart some sort of wisdom, I think they're necessary. My first exposure to the wonderful world of presidential trivia was in February of my 3rd grade year, when my teacher put a display of all the first executives just outside the classroom door. Every morning until President's Day, there was a new question and a prize. A big deal, of course, to those of us nearing or just into our double-digit years. I still remember the details of the first time I won, more details than are worth going into for a 10-minute speech. But when a question about William Howard Taft earned me a pencil, I instantly adopted him as my president. Looking back at it now, I suppose this was the first time I made some sort of connection between myself and a historical figure. Granted, it wasn't a deep connection at all, but this, I would argue, is when I started on the path to becoming a true student of history. History is very personal. It's about people. It's about stories. It's about recognizing elements of your own life reflected throughout the centuries, finding experiences you've shared with those long gone. It's a very human discipline, like literature, but better because everything is real. Sorry, English teachers. The easiest thing to forget when studying history for a grade is that the subjects we discuss actually exist. Yes, I know I just used the present tense to describe dead people. I think if you're doing it right, if you're doing history right, you can't help but make that slip. You get to know them in this weird, transcendental way, and their examples inspire you. History reminds us that we are not alone in anything, that whatever it is we're going through, someone else has been there. If you can meet that dead person you connect with and listen to what he or she has to say, you will be on your way to becoming a better person. In 5th grade, a school-wide activity for President's Day culminated in the distribution of presidential flashcards, one for each kid. Of course, I was hoping for the man who won me that pencil 2 years ago, Big Bill Taft. But as fate would have it, I received a card with a rather dour-looking man, the unflattering official White House portrait of none other than Calvin Coolidge. I wasn't thrilled about it. I even tried to trade him away at first. But here's my second digression. Sometimes, if you embrace what chance has given you, you will find exactly what you didn't know you were looking for. I suppose this is a bit of a funny example, but it's certainly not the only reason I have faith in the chaos of the universe. In general, unpredictability is exciting. There are the best friends we didn't expect to make, the foiled plans that led to something better. Throughout the college process, I heard countless stories of the student who ended up in a class she didn't want, but loved it so much she ended up majoring in the department it came from. There are wonderful things that we will never see coming. But what about the negative surprises we can't predict? What amazes me and gives me so much optimism is that the world has a way of working things out. As long as we remain invested in our own lives, every hardship will eventually wrap up. Every bad week will lead into a good one. We can't plan our entire lives. That's just not how the world works. But we shouldn't fear our lack of control. We should allow it to energize us. Opportunities tend to come forward. Doors have a way of opening themselves up. and that's exciting. If you trust the journey and remain optimistic, you are going to be a happier and more fulfilled person. But here we are, the moment I first met Cal. Despite my initial disappointment, I was still curious enough to look him up. And let me tell you, as another philosophical aside, curiosity does go a long way. If you find that spark anywhere in your life, you need to go ahead and chase it. Anyway, Calvin Coolidge, I soon discovered, was unlike any other president I had yet encountered. He just didn't seem like a politician. He didn't have a commanding presence. Aptly named Silent Cal, his only charisma was a signature dry wit that manifested itself in flatly delivered one-line responses. Take, for example, the famous bet story. When a woman at a dinner bet that she could get more than 2 words out of him throughout the course of the evening, he answered simply, "You lose." As I continued reading, I found plenty of other stories like this one. There's one great website with a whole long list of these stories, and if you want the link, I can set you up. Just talk to me after this. I found this humor, combined with his adorable awkwardness in photos, very endearing. Care for some visual aids? Yeah. Look at that adorable man. Next one. I mean, he's just like a puppy dog. He also had a mechanical horse that he would ride for exercise. And when I visited Massachusetts and went to the Forbes Library, which has like all the Coolidge archives, I was like freaking out. I saw the mechanical horse. There we go. Anyway, so yes, I admit, in 5th grade I developed a sort of crush on Calvin Coolidge. While my fondness for Calvin remains, as I grew older, I came to appreciate him for entirely different reasons. Calvin Coolidge, president during the Roaring '20s, did not belong in his era. This was the age of flappers and bootlegging and consumerism, while Coolidge was a New England farm boy, as you saw when he milked the cow, honest, down to earth, uninterested in the flash of 20s lifestyle. In contrast to his predecessor, Warren G. Harding, he did not smoke, drink, or gamble. He was faithful and lovingly devoted to his wife, and he played no part in the money-making Teapot Dome scandal of Harding's cronies. In fact, it was his universally acknowledged trustworthy nature that restored the public's faith in his party. He didn't need to have the greatest people skills to be a man of sterling character. I realized in the past few years that Calvin Coolidge embodies 3 values I consider the most important to me: honesty, hard work, and humility. Honesty seems pretty straightforward. It is, after all, one of our guiding principles. But I want to add that honesty includes a willingness to admit your own mistakes, to own up to anything that you have done or said. Honesty is refusing to make excuses. It is resisting the temptation to look at the student's quiz beside you because you know, deep down, that you did not study as long as you could have and should have, and you do not deserve a perfect score on this quiz. Honesty, I firmly believe, supersedes the need to get ahead in today's achievement-oriented society. That leads me to the next virtue: hard work. We have a tendency to take shortcuts, and that's reasonable given the fast pace of the 21st century. But I think all of us agree that the people we have the most respect for are the ones who literally don't cut corners during warm-up laps, the ones who spend free periods in practice rooms rehearsing on their instruments, the ones who write and rewrite their essays because they're unwilling to settle for less than their best work. And these are the people who truly master their skills. There simply is no substitute for hard work. Lastly, and I think most importantly, humility. What does it mean to be humble? Obviously, it's the opposite of bragging, but it also means valuing the opinions, perspectives, and achievements of others as much as you do your own. Humility is never forgetting your roots, being unafraid to get your hands dirty, knowing how to listen and be thankful. Humility is necessary for empathy, and I know all true care for other people stems from empathy. Remember that being human is more than enough common ground. I understand that these values are indeed outdated. they aren't made for the high-speed selfie and self-promotional culture we live in today. And I understand that many of you will completely disagree with me when I say that honesty, hard work, and humility are the three most important determinants of character. But another thing I learned from Cal: you can't impose your beliefs on other people. Cal was not forcible. He was a remarkably passive man. In taking after him, I have come to understand the value of a quiet example. There is no purpose in making enemies. Often, just by putting yourself out there and living a life you believe is virtuous, you create a safe space for others who are tired of the norm. Thank you, Shady Side, for all the opportunities you have given me throughout the years, including the chance to make this speech. And thank you all for your attention. Keep cool with Coolidge.